Candidates, you've both talked about the fact that Rhode Island is in the midst of a serious housing crisis, affecting people who want to buy a home as well as people who are seeing their rents soar. Experts say one of the biggest hurdles, and some say the biggest hurdle to building more housing in Rhode Island, is that the state has very strict local zoning rules that limit construction. Mr. McKee, you just put $250 million of the state's federal funds into affordable housing, but you're also a staunch believer in municipal control of government. How do you balance your support for local level leaders with the fact that many municipalities are very resistant to building more housing?
So we are meeting with the municipal leaders for 39 cities and towns right now on actually putting together a written plan for housing in the state of Rhode Island, which we have not had. Got the funding for it in July, and we're ready to kind of put out a draft later this year. I think that our municipal leaders understand that they're going to play a role in housing, and there's many ways we can do that. My mom lives in a unit that we were able to I signed legislation allowing in-law apartments in Cumberland. So there's many factors where communities are going to step up. I have full confidence that the municipal leaders are going to understand that they're going to play a role to make sure that we move towards a space where we use that $250 million. I believe we can get about $1 billion worth of housing from that $250 million, and that we're going to need the support of the local communities to make that happen.
Your counterpart in California, Gavin Newsom, just signed legislation authorizing denser housing construction in some places, even overriding local zoning. Would you ever consider that as governor, or is that off the table for you?
I think the first option is work with the municipal leaders to make it happen. I have confidence that it'll happen.
All right, Ms. Kalus, same question to you. Would you support overriding local zoning in some places to get more housing, or do you think that's too aggressive a step for the state?
You know, that's actually been tried before. It was tried in Massachusetts, and empirically, when you look at the data over a time period, that override ability did not produce additional housing. So while it makes people feel like we're able to take action, and we are in a housing crisis, it's just not something that's been shown to work. So what I would do is, when I'm governor, I'd immediately sit with each city and town and figure out why they're missing their target in terms of affordable housing. And then we will work with the $250 million to solve those problems. What we need to do is we need to incentivize, we need housing very quickly. And even if we were to get it approved, a larger development, it would take years. So to deal with the housing crisis, we need to incentivize accessory dwelling units and conversion from single to multifamily homes. But you need to do that with the community. Having community buy-in is so important, and having the funding is such a blessing because you can actually meet community needs. It's all about working with the cities and towns to get it done. In the long term, we need to make it so that development is easier. We also need to do some simple things that make us more competitive. So making sure that we have a match of state funds with federal money for affordable housing is something that we should do. Because when you're looking at developers, they're looking next door, and it's a much more affordable or profitable to build there. So we just need to make ourselves more competitive and really show leadership. We didn't get here overnight. And so what I've done is I've committed to building 10,000 units a year. That's the thing about leadership, is often politicians or career politicians, they don't like to stick with numbers. You can hold me accountable to that number, and my success or failure will be based on whether I'm able to produce units with cities and towns.
Mr. McKee, briefly, she says 10,000 units a year. Do you have an annual goal for new units?
Well, first of all, we got to establish how many units we need and what price range we need them. That's going on. But 10,000 units in a year, that's impossible to do.
Well, it's aggressive, but it's not impossible if you listen to my plan and also are taking the crisis seriously. It's a crisis, so you need bold action, you need leadership, and you need a governor who's willing to get involved, not just pay people to write plans. I mean, there's a time for plans and there's a time for action. And at this point, with rents raising, with people unable to buy homes, it's time for action. What you see with him is the lack of commitment. You can't, we are already short 30,000 units.
Well,
so
that's a number that has not been proven out, but it's just another example
just 30 seconds,
of the lack of governance experience that Ms. Kalus has. In terms of what we've done, $250 million, $80 million for 825 units. That was announced in the spring. We've announced more housing in the last year than at any one 12-month time frame in the history of the state of Rhode Island. We're going to continue to do it. We're going to engage the municipal leaders to make it happen. And we're going to hit from homelessness all the way to fair market value, and we'll have a plan. But 10,000 units, that is just unrealistic. And 30,000 number, that's the first time I heard a number that high.
15 seconds, Ms. Kalus, go ahead.
I mean, we need a leader. We need somebody that isn't going to just make announcements, but actually take action. With me, you will get a governor who's involved, that holds himself accountable. I'm not just going to give up. I mean, you didn't even name a number of units. You don't have to pick 10,000, but you should pick a goal.
Okay, we're going to move on.